and set the matter over for sentencing. The state has represented that we will ask for no more than 18 months in prison as a penalty.
Okay. Mr. Fatika?
Good morning, Your Honor. That's my understanding. I've discussed this matter with Mr. Stevens. I believe knowing voluntary and intelligent guilty plea would be forthcoming.
All right, Mr. Stevens, how old are you?
I'm 25, Your Honor.
How far did you go through school?
I graduated high school, but I'm currently enrolled in Remington College, and I graduate November 28th.
Are you a U.S. citizen?
Yes, sir. Yes, Your Honor.
Are you able to read, write, and understand the English language?
Yes, Your Honor.
Prior to coming to court, have you taken any drugs or alcohol or any prescription medication in the last 48 hours?
No, Your Honor.
Did you get a copy of this indictment?
Yes, Your Honor.
That's one count. It's failure to comply with the order or signal of a police officer. It's a felony of the 3rd degree, and you're here today to plead guilty to that?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. The state has stated that they, at the time of sentencing, they would recommend a cap, no more than 18 months in prison as part of this plea. Do you understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Now, before I accept your guilty plea, I need to determine that you know and understand the constitutional rights you'll be waiving, the consequences of your guilty plea, and the maximum penalty I could give you, and I need to be satisfied that your guilty plea is being made freely, knowingly, and voluntarily. I'm going to ask you questions. If you don't understand a question or you want to talk to Mr. Fatika some more, let me know and I'll give you more time. Do you understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
You have a constitutional right to have a trial, either to me or to a jury of 12 Lake County citizens. Do you understand that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Are you waiving that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
If you go to a jury trial, all 12 members must agree to a guilty verdict before you can be found guilty. Do you understand that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Are you waiving that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
If you go to trial, the prosecutor will call witnesses to testify against you. Do you understand the prosecutor must prove you guilty beyond a reasonable doubt at a trial?
Yes, Your Honor.
After the witnesses are done testifying for the prosecutor, you have the constitutional right to have your lawyer cross-examine those witnesses. Do you understand that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Are you waiving that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
If you go to trial, you have the right to have witnesses come here and testify for you. Do you understand that right?
Yes, Your
Are
Honor.
you waiving that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
If those witnesses refuse to come to court, then I'll issue an order called a subpoena to make them come and testify. Do you understand that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Are you waiving that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
You have the right to testify at trial if you want to. Do you understand that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Are you waiving that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
You have the constitutional right to not testify at trial if you do not want to. Do you understand that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Are you waiving that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
If you decide not to testify at trial, nobody is permitted to comment on that decision. Do you understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
If you go to a trial and you're found guilty, you have the right to appeal the guilty finding. Do you understand that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Are you waiving that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
If you file an appeal, you have the constitutional right to have a lawyer represent you in the appeal. Do you understand that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Are you waiving that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
If you could not afford a lawyer, one will be appointed at no cost to you. Do you understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
If you file an appeal, you're entitled to have a transcript of all the hearings in the case. Do you understand that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Are you waiving that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
If you could not afford to copy those transcripts, you would get those at no cost. Do you understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
If you plead guilty today, you will not have the right to appeal the guilty finding. Do you understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you have any questions about any of your rights?
No, Your Honor.
Do you still want to plead guilty to this charge?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you understand by pleading guilty, you're fully admitting your guilt to the charge?
Yes, Your Honor.
You understand by pleading guilty to this felony that you're voluntarily giving up your freedom for whatever period of time that could sentence you to prison, to jail, or to community control.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, failure to comply with the order or signal of a police officer is a felony of the 3rd degree. It carries a maximum of 36 months in prison and a maximum $10,000 fine. Do you understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
What's the range of the 3 to life on the license?
Correct.
Okay. Do you understand that you will face a mandatory license suspension of at least 3 years up to your lifetime. You understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Are you presently on post-release control to the parole authority?
Yes, Your Honor.
You are?
Yes.
And when were you placed on post-release control?
2022, Your Honor.
For how long?
3 years, Your Honor.
What month in 22?
July.
July?
July.
Okay. So in addition to any penalty, any sentence on this case, I could also give you an additional consecutive sentence for the post-release control violation. Do you understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, and if I do that, then the maximum sentence for that would be the greater of 12 months or the time left under post-release control. Do you understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
And do you understand that has to be, if I do that, it has to be consecutive to this sentence? You understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you have any questions about that?
No, Your
That
Honor.
aspect of the penalty?
No, Your Honor.
Do you understand your felony conviction prevents you from owning or possessing a firearm?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you understand that if a prison term is imposed in this case, you might have to serve a period of post-release control for up to 2 years under the parole authority?
Yes, Your Honor.
If you are placed on post-release control and violate any conditions, the parole authority could return you to prison for up to 9 months for each violation, up to 1/2 of my sentence. Do you understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
If the violation is a new felony, you could get an additional consecutive prison sentence for the violation. Do you understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
If that happens, the maximum prison sentence for the violation will be the greater of 12 months or the time left under post-release control. Do you understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Has the parole authority taken any action against you because of this case?
No, Your Honor.
Do you know if they are going to?
I'm not sure, Your Honor.
Did you speak to your parole officer about it?
Yes, Your Honor.
And what did they tell you?
He told me that I was sanctioned last year in October, and they took away my driving privileges.
As a result of this offense?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. They took away, so your sanction was they took away your driving privileges?
Yes, Your Honor.
That was it? Okay.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Do you have any further information on that, Ms. Mulligan?
I do not. No,
Mr.
Your Honor.
Fatika?
No,
No,
I apologize, Your Honor.
Okay. Well, they're probably gonna wait to see what I do, which is their standard fare. All right. Do you understand that if a prison term is imposed, you are eligible for judicial release?
Yes, Your Honor.
I could place you on community control for up to 5 years, but if you violate any conditions, I could send you to prison for 36 months. Do you understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Has anybody promised you I would be lenient on you just because you're pleading guilty?
No, Your Honor.
Has anybody promised you what I will sentence you to in this case?
No, Your Honor.
Do you understand I do not have to follow the sentencing recommendation of either the prosecutor or your lawyer?
Yes, Your Honor.
Have you had enough time to talk to Mr. Fatika before pleading guilty today?
Yes, Your Honor.
Has he discussed everything about your case and answered all of your questions?
Yes, Your Honor.
Are you satisfied with the advice he has given you?
Yes, Your Honor.
Have you been threatened or coerced in any way to plead guilty today?
No, Your Honor.
Are you freely, knowingly, and voluntarily entering your guilty plea?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you have any questions?
No, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Mulligan, if this case went to trial, what would the evidence show?
Your Honor, the state would be prepared to show that on October 7th, 2023, just after midnight, the defendant was driving on I-90 here in Lake County. A Wickliffe police officer who was patrolling the freeway noticed some traffic and equipment violations and activated his lights, and the officer activated his lights and sirens in an attempt to pull over Mr. Stevens. Mr. Stevens sped up, reached speeds of about 110. He blacked out his lights. Eventually, the tires were spiked, and he struck a concrete barrier.
All right, Mr. Fatika, anything to add to those facts?
No, thank you, Your Honor.
Mr. Stevens, did you hear what Ms. Mulligan said? The facts would show if this case went to a trial.
Yes, Your Honor.
And are those facts true?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, what is your plea to failure to comply with the order or signal of a police officer, a felony 3?
Guilty, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Fatika?
Your Honor, may we approach on a housekeeping matter?
Uh-huh. Failure to comply, it has to be consecutive. And there's a finding of serious physical. I'm not making additional findings.
Okay, I just didn't want to gloss over it.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I read them up to 2 years. I'm not gonna make a.
Okay, this is the original of that. May we sign, Your Honor?
Yep.
Thanks.
Mr. Stevens, is this your signature on this written plea of guilty?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you sign it voluntarily?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you want me to accept the written plea of guilty?
Yes, Your Honor.
I'll accept the written plea of guilty. Defendant was present. Mr. Fatika advised of all of his rights, made a knowing, intelligent, voluntary waiver of those rights. He understands the nature of the charge, the consequence of his guilty plea, and the maximum penalty. Find it to be knowing, intelligent, and voluntary. I will accept his plea of guilty and find him guilty of failure to comply with the order or signal of a police officer, a felony 3. I'm going to refer this for a pre-sentence report. Sentencing will be December 2 at 9:15 a.m. And the bond is continued. Anything else, Ms. Mulligan?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
Mr. Fatika?
No, thank you, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Matthews?
That is all correct, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Stenard, how old are you?
25,
How far did you go through school?
12th grade.
Are you a U.S. citizen?
Yes,
Are you able to read, write, and understand the English language?
yes,
Prior to coming to court, have you taken any drugs or alcohol or any prescription medication in the last 48 hours?
no,
Have you ever been diagnosed with or treated for any mental illness?
no,
Did you get a copy of this indictment?
yes,
All right, it's been represented to me that you're going to plead guilty to the lesser included offense in count 1, robbery of felony 3, count 2, strangulation a felony 4, and count 5, failure to comply with the order or signal of a police officer a felony 3, and then the remaining counts would be dismissed at sentencing. Is that your understanding?
yes,
Before I accept your guilty plea, I need to determine that you know and understand the constitutional rights you'll be waiving, the consequences of your guilty plea, and the maximum penalty I could give you. And I need to be satisfied that your guilty plea is being made freely, knowingly, and voluntarily. I'm going to ask you questions. If you don't understand a question or you want more time to talk to Mr. Matthews, let me know and I'll give you more time. Do you understand that?
yes,
You have a constitutional right to have a trial, either to me or to a jury of 12 Lake County citizens. Do you understand that right?
yes,
Are you waiving that right?
yes,
If you go to a jury trial, all 12 members must agree to a guilty verdict before you can be found guilty. Do you understand that right?
yes,
Are you waiving that right?
yes,
If you go to trial, the prosecutor will call witnesses to testify against you. Do you understand the prosecutor must prove you guilty beyond a reasonable doubt at a trial?
yes,
After the witnesses are done testifying for the prosecutor, you have the constitutional right to have your lawyer cross-examine the witnesses. Do you understand that right?
yes,
Are you waiving that right?
yes,
If you go to trial, you have the right to have witnesses come here and testify for you. Do you understand that right?
yes,
Are you waiving that right?
yes,
If those witnesses refuse to come to court, then I'll issue an order called a subpoena to make them come and testify. Do you understand that right?
yes,
Are you waiving that right?
yes,
You have the right to testify at trial if you want to. Do you understand that right?
yes,
Are you waiving that right?
yes,
You have the constitutional right to not testify at trial if you do not want to. Do you understand that right?
yes,
Are you waiving that right?
yes,
If you decide not to testify at trial, nobody is permitted to comment on that decision. Do you understand that?
yes,
If you go to trial and you're found guilty, you have the right to appeal the guilty finding. Do you understand that right?
yes,
Are you waiving that right?
yes,
If you file an appeal, you have the constitutional right to have a lawyer represent you in the appeal. Do you understand that right?
yes,
Are you waiving that right?
yes,
If you could not afford to hire a lawyer, one would be provided at no cost to you. Do you understand that?
yes,
If you file an appeal, you're entitled to have a transcript of all the hearings in this case. Do you understand that right?
yes,
Are you waiving that right?
yes,
If you could not afford to copy those transcripts, they'd be given to you at no cost. Do you understand that?
yes,
If you plead guilty here today, you will not have the right to appeal the guilty finding. Do you understand that?
yes,
Do you have any questions about any of these rights?
no, sir,
Do you still want to plead guilty to these counts?
yes,
Do you understand by pleading guilty, you're fully admitting your guilt to these charges?
yes,
You understand by pleading guilty to these felonies that you're voluntarily giving up your freedom for whatever period of time I could sentence you to prison, to jail, or to community control.
yes,
The lesser included offense in count 1, robbery, is a felony 3, carries a maximum prison term of 36 months and a maximum fine of $10,000. Do you understand that?
yes,
Count 4, strangulation, is a felony 4, carries an 18-month maximum prison sentence and a $5,000 maximum fine. Do you understand that?
yes,
Count 5, failure to comply with the order or signal of a police officer, is a felony of the 3rd degree, and that carries a maximum prison sentence of 36 months and a maximum fine of $10,000. Do you understand that?
yes,
Now, I could give you a consecutive sentence. That means one sentence after another for the separate offenses. If I did that, then you face a maximum prison term of 90 months and a maximum fine of $25,000. Do you understand that?
yes,
You further understand that any prison sentence that the count 5 failure to comply would be consecutive to any other prison sentence. Do you understand that?
yes,
Now, are you on post-release control to the parole authority?
yes,
And you're on, as I understand it, until October 1 of 25? Does that sound right to you?
Parole?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Now, in addition to any sentence on this case that we're here for today, I could give you an additional consecutive prison sentence for your post-release control violation. Do you understand that?
Yes.
And if I did that, the maximum that I could give you would be 364 days. Well, at this point, 364 days, but at the time of sentencing, whatever is left under post-release control. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Any questions about that?
No, sir.
I think, Your Honor, I'm sorry, just for,
Yep.
I think the maximum sanction he would face would be 12 months.
Right, I could give you either 12 months or whatever's left, whichever is more. Okay, thank you, Mr. Matthews. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Okay. Do you understand that your guilty plea with regard to count 5, where are we at in the timeline? 3 to life or more than that?
I
For
believe
the
it's-
license suspension, yes, it's a definite period of 3 years to life.
Okay, so on count 5, you face a mandatory license suspension of at least 3 years up to your lifetime. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Do you understand that your felony conviction prevents you from owning or possessing a firearm?
Yes.
Do you understand that if a prison term is imposed in this case, when you are released, you will be on post-release control for at least 1 year, up to 3 years under the parole authority?
Yes.
They will place conditions on you. If you violate their conditions, they could return you to prison for up to 9 months for each violation, up to 1/2 of my sentence. Do you understand that?
Yes.
If that violation is a new felony, you could get an additional consecutive prison sentence for that violation. Do you understand that?
Yes.
If that were to occur, the maximum prison sentence for the violation would be the greater of 12 months or the time left under post-release control. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Do you understand if a prison term is imposed, you are eligible for judicial release?
Yes.
I could place you on community control for up to 5 years, but if you violated any conditions, I could send you to prison for 90 months. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Now, has anybody promised you I would be lenient on you just because you're pleading guilty?
No.
Has anybody promised you what I will sentence you to in this case?
No.
Do you understand I don't have to follow the sentencing recommendation of either the prosecutor or your lawyer?
Yes.
Have you had enough time to talk to Mr. Matthews before pleading guilty today?
Yes.
Has he discussed everything about your case and answered all of your questions?
Yes.
Are you satisfied with the advice he has given you?
Yes.
Have you been threatened or coerced in any way to plead guilty today?
No.
Are you freely, knowingly, and voluntarily entering your guilty plea?
Yes.
Do you have any questions?
No, sir.
All right, Ms. Alessi, if this case went to trial, what would the evidence show?
The evidence would show that on July 2nd, 2024, in Lake County, state of Ohio, Daviana Cullum, a resident, at Fox Run Apartments, called dispatch to report that she had been assaulted. She advised that she was injured and that the defendant stole her vehicle, which was a black Grand Cherokee. The victim was visibly upset when officers made contact with her, and she had blood on her lips and teeth and was complaining of head pain and dizziness, and she was subsequently transported to UH Lake West for treatment. Cullum stated the defendant had asked her to use her vehicle, and she said no. The defendant rushed at her, grabbed the keys out of her lap, where a physical struggle ensued. The defendant ended up punching her in the face, kicking her, and while she was on the ground, he began to strangle her with both hands around her neck. Cullum did not lose consciousness, but described that it was hard to breathe, and she did have red marks around her neck. The defendant was able to get the keys and ran out of the apartment, taking the vehicle. The defendant was on parole at the time and was wearing a post-release control, and was wearing a GPS monitor. Willoughby officers were able to communicate with the parole officer and track the defendant's location. They put out a bolo on the vehicle where Wickliffe PD was able to observe the vehicle on Interstate 90. Officers attempted to stop the vehicle, but the vehicle fled at a high rate of speed, exceeding 90 miles per hour in a 60 miles per hour zone. Traffic was moderate. The officers were actually having a difficult time pursuing the vehicle because of the traffic. The Jeep merged into the express lanes just before exiting, cutting across the grass median, almost causing an accident with the local lanes just before Wilson Mills. At that point, officers terminated the pursuit. Willoughby officers and the United States Marshals Violent Fugitive Task Force later found the vehicle abandoned on Apollo Parkway and found the defendant's cut off ankle monitor. And around 7 hours later, Lieutenant Seville with Willoughby Police Department found the defendant sitting on the patio at the River Tavern and took the defendant into custody. The defendant was Mirandized, and he stated nothing physical had occurred, that he was on his way back with the vehicle when he fled from an unknown police department. And Ms. Cullum is a family or household member with the defendant. She shares a child with the defendant. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Matthews. Anything to add to the facts?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Stenard, did you hear what Ms. Alessi said the facts would show if this case went to a trial?
Yes,
And are those facts true?
yes,
All right, what is your plea to the lesser included offense in count 1, robbery, a felony 3?
yes,
What is your plea to count 2, strangulation, a felony 4?
yes,
And what is your plea to count 5, failure to comply with the order or signal of a police officer, a felony 3?
yes.
Mr. Matthews?
Thank you, Your Honor. Prior to the hearing, I did review the written plea of guilty with Mr. Stenard. He indicated that he understood it and that he intended to sign it.
Is that correct, Mr. Stenard?
Yes.
All right, if you want to plead guilty, then you need to sign that document.
Okay. Put the date on that line, 10/2/24.
The defendant and his attorney have signed the written plea of guilty here in open court, and I've signed it as well. May I approach?
All right, Mr. Stenard, is this your signature on the written plea of guilty?
Yes,
Did you sign it voluntarily?
yes,
Do you want me to accept your written plea of guilty?
yes,
I'll accept the written plea of guilty. Defendant was present. Mr. Matthews advised of all of his rights. In a knowing, intelligent, and voluntary waiver of those rights, he understands the nature of the charge, the consequence of his guilty plea, and the maximum penalty. Find it to be knowing, intelligent, and voluntary, will accept his plea of guilty. Find him guilty of the lesser included offense in count 1, robbery, a felony 3. Count 2, strangulation, a felony 4. Count 5, failure to comply, a felony 3. Refer this for a pre-sentence report, victim impact statement. Sentencing is November 20, 3 p.m. Bond is revoked. Anything else, Ms. Alessi?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
Mr. Matthews?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, we're adjourned.
Now, see, Judge, just last week you told me I wasn't paying attention to what you were saying. You remember that?
Yes. Okay, here we go. You want them up? Yep.
Thank you.
Thanks.
See ya.
he said, like, what the hell? It's you, man. Get over yourself. Well,
And in case number 24 CR 1052, the defendant pleaded guilty to complicity to breaking and entering a felony of the 5th degree. Both cases were referred for a pre-sentence report and victim impact statement and were set for sentencing today.
Mr. Watson?
Thank you, Your Honor. May it please the court, I'll be brief. I know we had conversations in chambers, but Your Honor, my client is a drug addict, and he lies and he steals to support his habit. Your Honor, he's got 2 young children. He is involved in their lives. I know that he wants to be there for them as they grow up. And he realizes that his actions, not only his drug addiction, but his actions of stealing from people is only going to either kill him with the drug addiction or land him in prison for a long time with the crimes he's committing. He has told me he's committed to sobering up. He doesn't want to live this life anymore. He doesn't want to keep going down this path. He's been in county now for several months. I've met with him several times. He pled by information on these cases, Your Honor. He took responsibility right away. He wasn't about to challenge anything. He knew what he did was wrong, and he wanted us to take responsibility for it. I'm asking the court to consider a community control sanction in this matter. Your Honor, I know that he's been assessed for NeoCap. However, separately, my office had him assessed from New Horizons, I believe. New Day Recovery. And a letter was supplied to the court. Now, that letter was dated about a month ago. To refresh the court's recollection, we were actually set for a sentencing on the original case when a second case came down. So the sentencing was moved to this date. That being said, I was informed that a bed is still available for him there if the court will consider it. It's a residential inpatient treatment program. But regardless of what direction the court may go on this case, I'm going to respectfully ask the court to consider a community control sanction with treatment for Mr. Lishing so he can address his drug problem and hopefully come out sober so he could be a good father to his 2 young children. Thank you, Your Honor.
Mr. Lishing, what do you want to tell me before I sentence you?
Right now, I can say I messed up. I messed up real bad. This isn't who I am. It's never been who I am. I got caught into the drug addiction. Just got me to a point to where I couldn't even provide for my own self, let alone my children. And I took it upon myself to go out of my way to take the easy route out, which I never would have done any other time if it wouldn't have been for the drugs. I'm just asking that you at least give me an opportunity to show you that I'm not that person, that I can be trusted, I can be, a better person, a citizen of the community.
Well, the problem is it looks like you're that person.
It does. And the only thing I can do is apologize to.
Because you've been playing around with the drugs for a quarter century, haven't you?
It's been about 4 years. For the heavy stuff, at least.
Well, I mean, you got drug abuses going back to 2002.
Those are all marijuana charges.
Well, marijuana is a drug, isn't it?
Yeah, I understand.
Okay. Along with some domestics and an assault. Go ahead.
Like Mr. Watson said, I have 2 small children, and I don't want to see them grow up the way that I grew up, which I know right now it hasn't been going the best. I'm very active in their lives. The mother, unfortunately, is not. Her mother is actually taking care of them right now on her own, which is I feel terrible about. Just asking that, give me the opportunity to go to this New Day recovery and prove that I can, you know.
What happened, you were on intervention going back to 21, first in Cuyahoga, then in Lake County, so what happened with that?
So with Lake County, I went to the Alpha House in Oberlin. I was there for 11 months. The program 6 months. I was there for 11 months. I was their house manager, so I was, you know, helping guys getting accustomed to the house that was out there. I left there. I moved in this with a person that was associated with that house to kind of try to rebuild my life outside of the sober house. I messed up, and then I actually messed up. I got arrested back in August of last year. We did Concord Pines, which I also finished. The only thing that I didn't finish with Concord Pines was the aftercare, because with my work schedule, it coincided to where I couldn't, they wanted me to take off 3 hours every Wednesday for a job that I had just gotten, and the work wasn't going for it. So it just kind of coincided. So I came back here, admitted to it. They took me off probation. Now the one in Cleveland, I'm still on probation for. They're just waiting for me to pop up so we can get this all handled, and then go on with whatever you decide to go with today, I guess.
So what's the point of treatment?
The point of treatment
Right,
for me,
right.
right now the point. So I have a lot of mental health issues, a lot of trauma issues that I definitely need to get counseling for. And
Wasn't that the point of your intervention?
yes,
So it didn't work.
I really didn't. I didn't give it the chance that I should have.
Why not?
If you to be totally honest with you, I was trying to save my wife's life, and without thinking about my own.
What do you mean?
So she's very, very, very bad. She's very, very, very bad active addiction right now. Nobody's seen her in almost 7 months.
I mean, what can you do about that?
Well, that's what I couldn't understand. I didn't understand that at first. That no matter what I did, I wasn't going to be able to save her life. But we've been together for multiple years. We have children. We had, you know, a home together. We've lost everything together. And I thought that if I could save her, I could save myself. And it just did not work the way that I thought it was going to.
Well, you were given multiple chances on this intervention, right? And then on probation, and none of it worked. The result of which, in May of this year, you go on this spree, breaking into people's cars and garages, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So am I now going to suddenly believe that there's some magic in the treatment? That the treatment's going to be no different than the last treatment you went. All the treatment's the same, right? Doesn't mean shit if you don't follow it.
If you don't follow it, no, absolutely.
Okay, so you've demonstrated to me that you don't want to follow it. Because no sooner do you get booted off of probation after you served, on February 7th, you were given 101 days with credit for 81. So that means on February 27th, you walked out of the jail, and less than 2 months later, less than 3 months later, you're on this spree of taking other people's stuff. So tell me what that was all about.
That was, once again, it was my active addiction. When I left treatment, I had nothing. I had nowhere to go. I was basically I've been on my own for a very long time. And with,
Well, but you're 43 years old,
yes, sir.
okay. So who else were you running around with stealing people's stuff?
There was a few people, just they're people that I met around in Painesville.
Okay.
I mean, if you want names, specifics, or,
Well, I asked you who they were.
so there was a female named Caitlin Bank. There was James Lavelle. I don't know what his actual, they call him Bucket. I don't know what his actual name is.
Bucket?
Yeah, that's, they call him Bucket. That's what his nickname is. And there was a dude named David Etlib. He was one of the other ones.
So you 5 people organized this little rampage through people's cars, or what?
Well, so they were already doing it, and they just kind of brought it to my attention that money could be made.
How is it they brought it to your attention?
Well, they were talking about it, you know, saying that they were going and doing this and doing that, and they were like, you know, there's money like money can be made through this, and like me being in active addiction and being stupid, I agreed to, you know, go with them one time, and then this is what
One time?
Oh, twice actually. Sorry.
Okay. And then what did you do with all this loot that you gathered up?
I got caught with it.
Okay, but what about these other mysterious people that
Oh, they were.
you had to turn over everything to?
They were selling it to drug dealers, or you know, the guy that got caught with the gun. They sold the gun to him. Pretty much just whoever they could get to buy it to get money.
Well, who did you owe $12,000 to?
So that was a debt between my wife and a drug dealer that she was involved with.
Okay,
It was me really trying to dwindle down what she owed, because so at this point, she's out there selling herself to try to, well, she's being forced to sell herself to make up for the money that she owes. I thought that, then this is where it comes back into me trying to save her life again. Like, I thought that maybe I could at least somehow put a dent into what she owes so she doesn't have to live that kind of life anymore. But like I said, that nobody's seen her in months. Nobody knows where she is. Nobody can get in contact with her. So I don't.
so who did you pay then?
I went to a dude named, they call him Tone, Antonio Tyus, I think is what his name is.
And how many times did you pay Tone?
Twice.
And how much did you pay him?
$400 the first time and $275 the second time.
Is this money that you stole?
Some was and some wasn't. Some was.
Where
my
did you
own.
get the money you didn't steal?
I have more. I was working at one point. I did have some money in the bank. Wasn't very much, but I was trying to give everything I could to make sure that she was alive, that she was safe, and then she just kind of disappeared on me. Like I said, nobody's seen her since. So last I heard, she was in Cleveland somewhere.
Okay, how is it that you figured out that this Tone had his hooks in her?
She told me.
And she told you where to find him?
He's around Painesville. He's everywhere around out here.
Okay. So is that why you started stealing stuff out of people's cars?
Some of it, yes, and some of it to support my own drug habit, yes.
So my guess is most of it was to feed your own habit. Because if it were to get her out of hock, you'd have taken all that money and given it to Tone, right? I mean, if I believe any of this stuff.
Absolutely.
Okay? If I believe any of it. Right. Or it could be that you're just a thief, that you don't want to work, that you want to just sponge off of other people.
I've always worked.
Well, then why weren't you working?
Once again, the active addiction.
Well, you've been playing with drugs at least pretty heavily for the last 4 years, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you work during those 4 years?
Yes, sir.
Okay. How did you work if you were addicted?
I was a functional addict, I guess you can say. I was going to work, but I was going to work high. I was working for Polychem on Heisley Road.
All right, so that gets me right back to the treatment issue. You were given opportunities in Cuyahoga and Lake to stop doing what you were doing, and you didn't show much initiative to do it. So once again, why should I put you on probation and put you in treatment if you don't seem all that interested in it?
I mean, to be honest with you, you're right. You're absolutely right. I wasn't interested in it.
Right. And I don't understand why. I mean, if your wife is a bad addict, and you got into the heavy stuff 4 years ago, if that's true, and you pick up some felonies, right? Because you never had felonies before the Cuyahoga and this one.
Mhm.
So that didn't make you stop and pause and say, maybe I shouldn't do this, and maybe now I've got this chance for intervention, maybe I should take advantage of it and stop screwing around. That you weren't interested in that?
I want to say that it was a 50. I was and I wasn't. I wasn't interested in it because it wasn't the way I wanted to do it, but then I was interested in it because I didn't want to destroy my life any farther than it already was. Like I said, I did complete two other programs that were long term.
Okay, but that's fine. Okay, anybody really, I mean, anybody can complete a program.
Yes, sir.
Okay, completing a program doesn't really mean anything. Taking what you learned from the program and applying it is what means something. Otherwise, the treatment is worthless.
Yes, sir. I
I
agree.
mean, anybody can go over to the jail treatment program, stare at the wall, and complete the program. Anybody can do that. But it doesn't mean anything if once you get out, you don't apply what you learned. You seem to have no interest in applying what you learned. I mean, the only reason you're not out thieving right now is because you're locked up. Otherwise, that's what you would be doing, because that's who you are. Now, these other 4 people that you were working with in this little criminal enterprise, where did you meet them such that you joined their little gang?
On Morris Avenue, right here in Painesville.
Okay, what were you doing on Morris Avenue when you happened to meet these people?
Just hanging out at the house, actively doing drugs.
Whose house?
James Lavelle's.
Okay. And when did you meet Lavelle?
I actually met him through my wife while she was in her active addiction.
How old are your kids?
4 and 2.
4 and 2.
Yes, sir.
So you prioritized your partying over them.
Yes.
Since the oldest one was born,
Sadly, yes.
and then there's another one born, and you're still out there doing whatever you want to do. You seem like a very selfish person.
I feel like a selfish person.
Anything else you want to tell me?
Only other thing I'd have to say is that just I have an apology for the people that were in this case that nobody deserved to be stolen from. You know, I feel terrible for what I did.
Did you ever have anything stolen from you?
Yes, I was just getting to that. I've had lots of stuff stolen from me, and I know how it feels. And the fact that I still went ahead and did it, there's no excuse for it.
Okay, well, what does that matter now? I mean, you already did what you did.
I mean, honestly, it really doesn't. I just, you know, I just feel like it needs to be said. And the only other thing I would have to say is just an apology to the court, because you shouldn't have had to waste your time on me being stupid.
I mean, I'm sitting here anyway, so don't really, there's no time issue as far as I'm concerned, but this, so you stole this gun, but you didn't know you stole the gun?
I didn't steal a gun.
Who stole it?
It was the David Etlin. He stole it.
In the garage?
Yes.
Were you in the garage?
Yes, sir.
You stole the gun?
I was with him. Yes.
All right, have a seat, Ms. Wood.
Thank you, Your Honor. The state is recommending a period of community control sanctions with local jail time, as well as a recommendation for NeoCap. These instances victimize a lot of different people. The defendant was going into several cars in the area where his wife's mother lives, near where his children are residing. He created a huge inconvenience for many people, stealing credit cards, purses, wallets that contained medical cards, insurance cards, driver's license paperwork, pay stubs, an iPhone, a huge inconvenience for a lot of people who had to wonder where their property went, deal with the banks and canceling credit cards, putting freezes on their accounts to make sure that money wasn't taken from them. And the defendant acted in a group with other people to victimize several different individuals in these cases. I think that the court can make the finding that this was organized criminal activity. The defendant stated there was a group of them that went car shopping, and he was with another person that went into...
Car shopping. Is that what you were doing, car shopping?
That's what they call it. Yes.
I love that term. Go ahead. Car shopping. Just, I've gone car shopping before to buy a car. Okay, go ahead. Unbelievable.
He has a history of criminal convictions. There's been a rehabilitation failure. He's been on supervision to 2 different courts before. So I think an appropriate recommendation would be NeoCap, to force the defendant to engage in some treatment and then take those treatment tools and apply them after and if he can successfully complete those programs. We'd also ask the items be forfeited to the law enforcement agency so they can be returned to the victims, as well as no contact with all the victims in these cases.
How much, I have 2 victim impact statements, one from a Godinez,
Yes.
and I can't tell what they're,
She had her iPhone taken.
okay, and so what's the amount she's claiming? Do you know?
I don't know if there's any restitution. The iPhone was recovered and is at the sheriff's department, which will be returned to her after the completion of this case.
It looks like there's some earbuds also.
There were earbuds recovered
Okay.
as well.
All right, and then Cropac?
Kropak was the victim who had his firearm taken in case.
So I see a total loss of $594.99. Is that what you have?
I have no reason to dispute that amount. There was firearm, ammunition, and some cash that was taken.
Was that firearm recovered?
Not that I'm aware of. Thank you.
Have you ever had a credit card stolen before?
Yes, sir.
And as a result of your credit card being stolen, what did you have to do?
Cancel it. Call the credit card company and have it canceled.
Right.
And check to see if anything was bought on it, or if it was used anywhere.
All right, I've reviewed the pre-sentence report. And the victim impact statements. And I've considered what you have said, what Mr. Watson has said, what Ms. Wood has said. And I have considered all the applicable statutes, those being 29, 29, 11, 12, 13, and 14. I don't understand what treatment would do for you if you have a very recent history of going through treatment and ignoring it. You've been screwing around out in society for 20, 25 years. None of it felony until the last few years, but causing a problem all over the place. With disorderlies, with damagings, with drugs, with assaults, with domestic violences. I don't know, I can't count how many contempts you got, so you don't have much use for the court system. When they put conditions on you, you just seem to ignore them. Otherwise, you wouldn't have all these contempts. And you ignored Judge Lucci and Judge Rupel and their intervention orders. So what good does any of this do with regard to you?
Are you talking on the treatment matter? Or?
Well, the person you are is a person who's been in trouble for 25 years.
Yes, sir.
Who routinely ignores whatever he has to do in order to get himself out of trouble. And then when you get felonies, you ignore the terms that are placed upon you. So what good? Why would I beat my head against the wall again?
I can understand why, you wouldn't trust anything that I'm saying. I'm just asking for the opportunity.
It's not even trusting what you're saying, it's trusting what you've done.
Right. No,
I don't have to believe or disbelieve anything you tell me. I can look at what you've done. And you have objectively ignored everything that Judge Gall told you downtown and Judges Lucci and Rupel told you here. You just don't give a shit. You're going to do whatever you want to do. Instead of working, you're going out stealing from people. With 4 other bandits. Now you have, as I've mentioned over and over again, failed on community control recently to the point where you were on intervention. There were multiple failures resulted in a conviction, and then you violated probation. You were operating with these other 4 thieves, feeding at least 1 other, maybe 3 other thieves by what you've done. So I'm going to find that you're not at this point amenable to community control. On the 675 case, on count 1, I'm going to sentence you to 11 months in prison. Count 2, 11 months in prison. Count 4, 11 months in prison. Or count 3, 11 months in prison. Count 4, 180 days in jail. With credit for 134 days. On 1052, I'm going to sentence you to 11 months in prison. Each of the counts in 675 are consecutive to each other, and that case is consecutive to 1052. And these sentences, these consecutive sentences, are necessary to protect the public from future crime by you, as been demonstrated by your activity, and to properly punish you. And they are not disproportionate to the seriousness of the crimes. And at least two of these offenses, all of these offenses, in essence, were committed as part of a course of conduct. And the harm caused by these multiple offenses are such that no single prison term adequately reflects the seriousness of your conduct. And your history of criminal conduct demonstrates that they are necessary to protect the public. When you get out, you might be on post-release control for 2 years with conditions. If you violate the conditions, the parole authority could return you to prison for up to 9 months for each violation, up to 1/2 of my sentence. If it's a new felony, you could get an additional consecutive prison sentence for the violation, the maximum of which will be the greater of 12 months or the time left under post-release control. Restitution ordered to Cropac in the amount of $594.99. The costs are assessed, the items are forfeited, and any remaining counts are dismissed. Anything else, Ms. Wood?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Watson?
No, Your Honor.
We're adjourned.
All rise. There's 30 days credit.
Oh,
So he didn't ask.
Having weapons while under disability with a forfeiture specification. The court ordered a pre-sentence report and investigation, which has been completed. There will be a joint recommendation for community control sanctions. The defendant has 4 days of local county jail credit. Thank you.
Mr. Mulkey.
Thank you so much, Your Honor. May it please the court counsel. Your Honor, I've obviously spoken to Mr. Johnson on multiple occasions. I've reviewed his pre-sentence report. Based on those discussions in my review, obviously we note to the court that he's 54 years old and has a distinct lack of any sort of significant criminal record. 2001 was his last felony charge, Your Honor. So we would be asking the court for community control sanctions that do not include local incarceration. Your Honor, I'll note to the court that he's had some traumatic experiences in his life which led him to carry a firearm in the manner that brings us before the court today. He understands that he's not supposed to be carrying firearms, Your Honor. He is remorseful for this situation. He will not repeat this situation again. He knows he'll be on community control sanctions, Your Honor. So to that end, he will be an excellent candidate for community control. I'm not anticipating that he will give his probation officer any issues, and I don't anticipate we'll be back for any motions to terminate or modify community control. Your Honor, he does have a medical marijuana card that he showed me that relieves his stress and injuries from his job, for which he is a residential construction worker. He works for an individual named Charles Waller, and he is successful at that job. He wants to maintain that job. That's his game plan, is to stay out of trouble, avoid any sort of confrontations that would require him to believe that he needs to carry a firearm. To that end, we would agree with the state's recommendation for a psychological assessment, evaluation, drug and alcohol assessment, Your Honor. And other than that, we would defer to the court. He will follow all the court's orders and all of the probation conditions. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Johnson, what do you want to tell me?
I am remorseful for carrying a weapon. I've been through a lot of trauma, and that's no excuse or reason. But if I can avoid jail time, I would like to. I provide for my dad. He's 80 years old, so he has a few medical conditions, and I try and be there for him. And I'm not a bad guy, and I'm going to follow the rules. And whatever you do, I have to accept it. So I'm at your mercy.
All right. Where do you work?
I work construction with my Mr. Charles Waller.
And what do you do?
All kind of house. He's a contractor, a residential contractor. So I demo plumbing, electrical.
All right. So as I was talking to Mr. Mulkey about your case, he said something happened to you when you were 19?
Yes.
Okay. And have you done anything to figure out how to deal with that?
Well, this is a eye-opening experience for me, so I won't be having any weapons. So whatever it is, if it's for me dealing with it, it'll be verbally, as far as if any trouble, I go to the police department, that type of thing. I'm not trying to.
All right. Okay. Mr. Hurd?
Thank you, Your Honor. The state is jointly recommending community control sanction. Defendant hasn't been in trouble since 2001 and has no history of violent offenses. As the defense mentioned, we would recommend the court order he complete a psychological assessment and enroll in mental health services, specifically to address the trauma he went through in the 80s and 90s, getting shot and pistol whipped, And then hopefully, once he gets through that, he can no longer feel the need to carry and feel safe, since he is getting older and not leading that lifestyle anymore, I would imagine. Thank you.
What do you mean getting older?
Oh,
He's
he's
only-
not 19 anymore, Your Honor.
He's only
not-
54.
Yeah, you're right, Your Honor. He's very young.
Nice hole you dug there, Alex.
Yeah.
Nice hole.
And I'm 50, so what are you implying?
You're correct. You're correct, Your Honor.
All right. I reviewed the pre-sentence report and listened to what everybody's had to say, considered all the applicable statutes. I'm going to put you on community control for 2 years, 4 days in jail with credit for the 4 that you've served. No drugs or alcohol with screens. I want you to obtain a dual diagnosis evaluation for mental health and drugs and alcohol and follow all recommendations. Maintain full employment, pay the cost and supervision fees. You understand everything?
Yes, sir.
Okay. If you violate, and the state files a motion to terminate community control, if I find you violated, then you face a potential of 18 months in prison. You understand that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Anything else, Mr. Hurd?
Forfeiture and dismissal of the second count, Your Honor.
Okay, you got it.
Thank you.
Anything else, Mr. Mulkey?
Yes, Your Honor, just clarification for my client's benefit. He was issued a medical marijuana card. He's going to test positive today for marijuana in all likelihood.
So I think what I want you to do is, I don't know anything about what information that thing was issued on. So whatever that was based on, provide the information to your probation officer, and then we'll take a look at it as to whether it should be allowed or not allowed, okay? So the impact today will have no effect on anything. Okay?
Okay.
Thank you for the clarification, Judge.
All right, that's it. Good luck, Mr. Johnson.
You want to see him at the?
Today for sentencing in the matter of the State of Ohio versus Catherine A. Blevins, case number 24 CR 906. Defendant is present in court today with her attorney, Ms. Nicole Novotny. At the last proceeding, Your Honor, which was held on August 29th of this year, defendant pled guilty to one count, that being a felony of the 5th degree, possession of cocaine with a forfeiture specification. Your Honor accepted the plea and ordered that the defendant undergo evaluation, specifically a PSR, as well as a drug and alcohol evaluation. We have read the reports and we are ready for sentencing. It appears that the defendant, Your Honor, has 32 days of jail time served to date. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Novotny?
Your Honor, in considering sentencing today, we ask that you provide any leniency with her and think of community control as a possible potential penalty for her with that respect. She is not the person that she was at the start of this case, Your Honor. She is fully different with that respect. If I may clarify, ultimately she's went through treatment. At the beginning of this case, when this case first started, she was in active use, trying to get away from the responsibilities that she had and the trauma that she experienced. During the time that this case started, my client went through a miscarriage as well as had a lot of family responsibility, and she still does with taking care of her mother with that respect. Her mother is very ill, and she is, you could say that's her full-time job, taking care of her with that respect. Ultimately, Your Honor, she has taken proactive steps. She's participated in Hitchcock, completed Hitchcock in, I believe, April 5th of 2024 with that respect. Started that on November 27th of 2023, which that date, Your Honor, is her sober date with that respect. She has maintained her sobriety with that date and holds it dear to her heart. She holds it to the highest for herself. Additionally, Your Honor, today she has set forth a dual diagnosis for aftercare with Lake Geauga after court today to complete the aftercare that she was not able to complete. After Hitchcock, she did maintain with Signature Health with the IOP and did complete an IOP with that respect. She did not do the aftercare, but is planning on doing that with Lake Geauga for a dual diagnosis, just based on the trauma that she's experienced throughout her life, and get some of those mental health and maintain sobriety and trying to help out with that respect. Your Honor, we're just asking for any leniency with this. She does have goals of finishing her high school degree, as well as finding employment, and as well as maintaining the care of her mother, as she's the only person that does maintain her health.
Thank you. Ms. Blevins, what do you want to tell me before I sentence you?
I just want to say that I do take my sobriety seriously, and I am a different person, like she was saying. I just want to say that I can do this.
When did you go to Hitchcock?
I went on November 27th.
All right, how long were you there?
Until April.
Then what'd you do after that?
Well, right before I was leaving, I was doing the IOP with Signature Health. And when I had left Hitchcock, I was doing a high school, online high school to get a diploma, not the GED, but a diploma. And then when I went to jail, I had been dismissed from the school, so I plan on doing that again. And I was doing aftercare at Signature Health, but it really, to be honest with you, it was not the kind of care that I really was looking for. So, and my mother,
what was it?
It was aftercare. It was a group, and it just wasn't. How do I explain? It wasn't meeting any necessary means that I was looking for help. It just wasn't doing it, and I was taking it so seriously that I wanted something else. And then in the mix of all that is when the court stuff happened, so in Menor. And I was trying to help my mom out too as well.
So what are you doing with Lake Geauga?
Aftercare program is dual diagnosis between the mental health and the alcohol and drug treatment. So I'll be doing groups and counseling as well on the side, individual counseling and looking for marriage counseling as well.
Okay, anything else you want to say?
I think that sums it up right now.
All right, Mr. Devanshi?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. Your defendant does not have an extensive criminal record. She is apparently in need of drug counseling and mental health counseling. For that reason, we would suggest or recommend probation, Your Honor.
All right, I have reviewed the pre-sentence report on the drug and alcohol evaluation and considered what Ms. Blevins has had to say, what counsel has had to say. I've considered all the provisions in 29, 29, 11, 12, and 13. I'm going to place you on community control for 3 years. You're going to serve 32 days in jail with credit for 32. You're to have no drugs or alcohol and you'll be screened. You're to complete the aftercare at Lake Geauga and follow all recommendations. Get your high school diploma. Obtain full employment. Get a valid driver's license and pay the cost and supervision fees. Do you understand all the terms?
Yes, I do. Thank you.
Mr. Clement, any other terms?
No, thank you.
All right, if you don't comply with the terms, the state will file a motion to terminate your community control, and if I find you violated, and you face 12 months in prison. You understand that?
Yes, I do.
All right, any questions about anything?
No, I don't. Thank you.
All right, anything else, Mr. Devanshi?
Nothing from the state, Your Honor.
Ms. Novotny?
Nothing further, thank you.
Okay, good luck, Ms. Blevins. We're
Thank
adjourned.
you.